copied, so all of them are up there where Kimberly is at now. I replenished the stock. Okay, Callie, your friend Kaylee reminded me to record. The bottom of page 9, Otto von Bismarck is our one-pager. So make sure you add that to your notes. So German unification is, first of all, going to be led by Prussia, and it's going to be led by Bismarck. So Maddie's question, he's all three of those at the same time? Yes, because he is a real politique. Now, most all of the time, he is a nationalist, and he will be portrayed as a nationalist. But he can be anything he needs to be to get to the ends. And for the ends for him is one unified Germany with Prussia in control. Otto von Bismarck is a military man. He is a Junker. He is obsessed with power. And he works to get the and gain favor with the King of Prussia. Now, there is a King of Prussia. There is one of the few that Germanic places that have a king. So, the Army Bill crisis created stalemate between the king and legislature over the forms of the army. We don't need to know anything about that. What we need to know at the bottom of page 9, since the king had granted the Constitution, Bismarck insisted that he ignore the liberals and follow his own judgment. Now, and I just said Bismarck can be a liberal if he needs to, but that is not his natural inclination. His natural inclination is that they're just a bunch of pencil pushers, right? He says at the top of page 10, one of the most famous quotes, and those of you that know the episode in The Office where Dwight wins the award and is giving a speech, this is part of this speech, this idea of iron and blood. So on top of page 10, Bismarck's greatest quote says, "The great questions of the day will not be decided by speeches and resolutions." That was the blunder of 1848 and 1849. The question of the day will be decided by blood and iron. So what Bismarck is saying is, liberals had their chance in the revolutions of 1848 with their speeches, with their constitutions, with their petitions. They didn't win. It wasn't successful. What is going to be successful will be blood and iron, and that's nationalistic. Our red blood, and especially what Germany is going to begin to do finally, is their industrial revolution. That's the iron. So that's the military. With our blood and with our military, we are going to decide. That's the nationalistic side of Bismarck. Did that answer your question? Okay. Government continued to collect taxes even though the parliament refused to approve a budget. Parliament is not working with them. Oh, wait till you see a picture of Bismarck. He has got a righteous looking beard and mustache. That is right up your alley, Kimberly, for all that awesome drawing that you do. Okay, so one of the things that's going to make the German unification steps different than the Italian will be the types of wars that the Germans wage, right? What?
Dude's eyebrows.
Oh,
my God.
Bismarck? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got it going on.
Yeah.
This Prussian warfare is going to be successful. They are going to take on really big players, and it will be, again, Prussia at the lead with Bismarck. So our first look is at the Prussian-Danish War. And it is also important to note as we move through this is Bismarck and his realpolitik. Let me see if I can say this. At this point, Prussia and Bismarck have not informed Austria that they are not part of the plan. They hope to use Austria until they get to a point where they feel comfortable, and then they're going to say, oh, yeah, Austria, you're not part of the plan. You don't get to be part of Germany. So at the beginning, on page 10, the Prussian-Danish War includes Austria. So Germany, we'll see what's going to happen with their little BFF friendship. Germany and Austria defeat Denmark, and they take what they wanted, Schleswig and Holstein, kind of like the cow, Holstein cows. The provinces were supposed to be jointly administered by Prussia and Austria. That's what Austria thought. Oh, we'll go to war, we'll get this country, we'll start adding to our empire. But conflicts over jurisdiction would lead to a war between Austria and Germany. That's where we're headed. It is a war for 7 weeks, and it is very telling how quickly Prussia's military becomes dominant. Bismarck seeks out a localized war. He makes diplomatic preparations. He starts negotiating with France and Italy. Don't interfere with this war. You guys stay out of it. It's German against German. Stay out. Austria was hoping to include all of those people. Look at D2. This goes back up to Bismarck's idea of iron. Prussia's use of railroads, that's the iron, to mass troops and use breech-loading rifles, again, technology, iron, proved superior to Austria's military efforts. Prussia's victory unified much of Germany without Austria. The Klein-Deutsch plan prevailed. Austria was given very generous peace terms, and Italy is going to get Venice from Austria. That's how Italy ended up with Venice. Part of that was Bismarck saying, Italy, stay out, and when we win this war, we'll give you the last little chunk of Italy that you need from us. So, in 1867, the Northern German Confederation, established by Bismarck with King Wilhelm I as president. So we have the beginnings. Included all the Germanic states except Baden, Wittenberg, Bavaria, and Saxony, and we'll get those in a little bit. We have a federal constitution that allowed each state to retain its own local government. We have the Reichstag, which is still part of the German government, with 2 houses. The upper house, the Bundesrat, had representatives from each state, and the Bundestag had representatives elected by male suffrage. So it is very much built on the same type of government, a bicameral government that the UK has and the United States has. On the top of page 11, this is the important part. The new government gave Bismarck the ability to circumvent or go around that important middle class. That's the conservative part of Bismarck. I don't want these middle class liberal people getting involved in my government. And he's going to deal directly with the working class and eliminate the strength and the power of the middle class. So when we think about middle class, those are our liberals, those are our thinkers, those are our educated people, those are the people that say we want our rights written down, we want to understand what they are. Bismarck says, I do not want to deal with those people. Those are the people that tried in 1848, they didn't get it done. I'm working with my people. And now on page 11, we get the biggest impact of this Germanic state, the Franco-Prussian War. This is France at war with Prussia. So Bismarck needs to not be seen as the aggressor. He needs to take the tactic that we were attacked, and who he is wanting this to come from is France. So he sets up this scheme. This is, again, the realpolitik in Bismarck. It's called the Ems Dispatch. So Bismarck sought to provoke a war with France, and guess what he wants? This is the key beginnings of this. France has control of Alsace and Lorraine. Bismarck wants Alsace and Lorraine. He cannot just go and take it because no one will support him in that move. So he needs to make a war with France and win. So in the peace treaty, he can claim Alsace and Lorraine. Does that make sense to everybody? Now we just have to figure out, how do I make France mad at me so they declare war first? And it is very simple. Bismarck boasted that a French diplomat had been kicked out of Germany. Didn't happen, never had happened, wasn't going to happen. But it made France very mad. And it is exaggerated. And because of that, France goes to war against Germany. Now, that does not sound like a reason to go to war. I know. It is diplomatic issues. It is a really, really big deal to kick out diplomats from foreign countries. Yes. Diplomats are the voice of the country of which they represent in your country. Now, in the I'm going to use the United States, which we can all understand. In the United States, diplomats from France, Germany, Great Britain, Latin America, Mexico, Canada, really, honestly, don't do a lot because we have very good relationships with them. If the president wants and has a problem with Canada, can pick up the phone and call Trudeau and talk with him just as easily as a diplomat. Diplomats are to make good relationships, which work just fine when you have good relationships already. The countries that the diplomats mean and make the most impact are with countries that you don't have good relationships with. For the United States, that would be like China and Russia. So those Chinese and Russian diplomats in the United States, in Washington, D.C., do a lot. They are constantly negotiating. They're constantly explaining that's not what that means. It's a cultural difference. Constantly trying to set up different meetings to ease tensions. So that's what that means. So to kick out diplomats in a country that you don't deal very well with. So at the end of President Obama's last term, because of the interference that was suspected in the election by Russians, Obama kicked out like half of the Russian diplomats. Not all, because that would have been, but he kicked out a lot. He kicked out half of them. That was scandalous. That was gigantic news because that doesn't happen. And what always happens is the retaliation. Then the Russians kick out ours. The other parts of diplomats for those two countries is that it's fairly well known in those circles that half of the diplomats are probably actually spies and are spying. There, that gets it interesting for you.
Yeah,
So
really does.
that half of the diplomatic corps, because they're called a corps, are real diplomats, schmoozers, negotiators, people with lots of experience, whining and dining, upper echelon elite. The other half are spooks, spies.
That's the coolest job in the world.
I know, isn't it?
Like on either side of that.
It
That'd be
is.
so cool.
Oh, either one. The
Yeah.
diplomatic corps. The diplomatic corps is a job of a lifetime. It is the job of a lifetime, and it's not hard to get into it. The first way that you do is you major in political science, Boom. You learn another language fluently. Boom. Because you do have to speak that language fluently. You can't be the angry American and expect that everybody speaks English. So if you want to be in the diplomatic corps, you need to learn a language. The easiest way to get in the diplomatic corps in the 21st century is to learn Mandarin or Arabic. Boom, you're in like Flynn, because those are the two languages that are really, really difficult because they have an entirely different set. And when I say fluently, that means read and write. It's a different set of letters and characters. Back in the day, in my day, it would have been to learn Russian. But now we've moved on, and it's Arabic or, yes. If you want to be a spook, CIA, FBI, you need to major in history. You need to major in math. Yeah. Math is for NSA to bust up codes.
That's what Abby's doing, isn't it?
Who?
I think that's secretly why Abby's majoring in history. I think she's telling everybody.
Abby Fathauer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's telling everybody she wants
What's
to be a museum curator, but
Yep.
she actually wants to be a spy.
Yeah. So it is. So this is what happens. Bismarck starts the rumor that one of the French diplomats had been kicked out. Had not happened. France is infuriated. Let's also add an asterisk by, this is now 1870. We haven't had a war in a long time. And people forget what war is like. So it's quick to declare war. We're going to go a war on Prussia. Bismarck used the war with France to bring in the 4 remaining southern German states, Bavaria, Baden, Württemberg, and Saxony. And please look at F3, the apparent ease with which Prussia defeated France sent shockwaves throughout Europe. In a year, this is over. Prussia defeats. Paris falls to the Germans in January 1871. Napoleon III is captured. And most importantly, the Treaty of Frankfurt. Yes, Frankfurt is in Germany. I hope you can figure that out. We are no longer a treaty in Paris. We have shifted the power. That's the shockwave. Alsace and Lorraine now belong to Germany. That is what Germany wanted. That is what Bismarck wanted. That is what the Realpolitik got. That is what the nationalist part of Bismarck got. And now we have the German Empire. This is known, for those of you that like to follow along, as the Second Reich. The First Reich was Charlemagne, Second Reich, Bismarck, and the Third Reich is Hitler. So this is the second. It's proclaimed January 18th, 1871, and instantaneously, Germany is now the most powerful nation in Europe. Wilhelm I becomes the Emperor of Germany, the Kaiser. Bismarck becomes the Imperial Chancellor. Bavaria, Baden, Württemberg, and Saxony are now all incorporated into the German Empire. And their government was essentially the same. Nothing's really going to change. Let's flip the page and look at what's happening with the Austria-Hungary Empire. Oh, wait, let's stop because we got to do our SIQ. Stop.